Welcome back to Market on Close. It's time for some overlooked stocks. George Tsilis is joining us. GT, let's go straight to your Bitcoin play today and the movers that folks might have missed. This is a miner, George, EBON, ticker EBON.
Well, yeah, they're becoming a miner. So EBON International, OJ, a couple of things.
Of course.
Recent IPO back in June of 2020, but what they actually focused on before they became a miner, or actually are moving towards becoming a Bitcoin miner, is actually the hardware. They're an integrated circuit company primarily.
Okay.
Again, they manufacture Bitcoin mining equipment.
It's not too far a stretch.
With a lot of these, with these integrated circuit companies, OJ, in the equipment space, they're becoming holding companies for mining operations and leases. So what we're seeing is sort of a horizontal integration into the mining business for EBON International. The other thing is they actually are expected. Now, I didn't find too much information on it to become present in the crypto exchange market. So they've actually filed to become a cryptocurrency exchange as well. But look, there's so many proxies for Bitcoin, OJ. This is just another one of these companies that's actually in the hardware space for Bitcoin mining, more in line maybe with the MicroStrategies, perhaps in the equipment side of the equation. But we know MicroStrategy has done a lot to take on a lot of debt, if you will, and to buy Bitcoin, and that's why it's higher as a proxy. But here's another one, for example, by the way.
Okay. So, George, this isn't like an iced tea company becoming a Bitcoin miner. This is a business that might be familiar, China-based and clearly moving very quickly over the last couple of weeks. George, do you view these companies as being dependent also on the Bitcoin price? Is this a Bitcoin proxy? Or do they have a layer of insulation as a miner?
It's a good question. So yes, on the first, I mean, it is a proxy for Bitcoin. There's no doubt. And the second thing is they're not just a pure miner. I think this is an interesting company. I'm not saying, I don't recommend it by all means. It's an interesting company because if you think about their business, we talked about, any of the mining, whether it's gold mining or Bitcoin mining, or even the marijuana business, OJ, we found Grow Generation. They're actually in the equipment side of marijuana growing. And that's important because it's sort of the picks and shovels play. And that's why that stock has done extremely well relative to maybe some of the other marijuana stocks. But here, if you look at EBON, they're actually a integrated circuit company, so more in the hardware space. And that's, again, more of a picks and shovels kind of approach to Bitcoin, the Bitcoin market. But now they're actually moving into the mining business. And so they're selling their equipment, and then they're basically leasing that equipment, and of course helping becoming more of a distributor in the mining space. So they're integrating into mining. It's not a pure miner. It's not a pure equipment player. It's becoming a hybrid, if you will. And I think the other interesting thing is the cryptocurrency exchange component, which again is evolving. I don't know too much about the cryptocurrency exchanges. It's a little bit sort of far-fetched for me. I track Bitcoin by all means. But I think this is another area that potentially has some revenue catalyst for the company. But look, with that said, you look at a company that's, billions of dollars in terms of market cap, and revenue is almost non-existent, at least from what I can see. There's no analysts that cover the stock. It's a Chinese company. It's got a recent IPO last year. So it's a lot of factors that, present some risks. Let's just say that. But at the same time, there's also opportunistic buying going on, not just because Bitcoin is going higher, but you got to look at the business as well. Is it a pure miner? It's not. Is it a pure picks and shovels or a hardware company? It is not. And there's also the cryptocurrency exchange component, which again, all three together present maybe a little bit more of a balanced opportunity in the Bitcoin space as a proxy. But you got to keep in mind, very volatile. It's not just this company. A lot of the other Bitcoin companies, also Bitcoin as well. We have seen days where all of a sudden it trades down 10% for whatever reason.
Yeah. Okay. All right. So be aware of the swings. And yet another one here, George, that makes the pivot, the BTC pivot. George, let's go over to WIX. This is probably your least overlooked stock of the segment, but we'll take it. It's an interesting company on the website development industry that has been a leader, and it's breaking out right now, 14% and a ton of analyst price target upgrades after their earnings. What happened here?
Well, I think, OJ, I don't know if we could tie, our show earlier today on Morning Trade Live, which is, again, another fine program here on the network.
Thank you, George.
We talked about what technology is moving in this bad tape. The secular technologies, the EV, autonomous driving, artificial intelligence, all that stuff down the road is not doing well. But companies like WIX, we even talked about Twilio, which is in the enterprise communications, these stocks are hitting some new highs. Now, WIX, for people who may not know, because this is a little bit overlooked, they're basically a website building platform that generates subscription revenues, and it's also kind of a business solutions company, and it's basically known for its design freedom and design elements for website creation, but also web hosting. They actually posted some really, really great numbers overall. They saw registered user growth up 107%. They saw business solutions services up 95%, which includes their WIX payment solutions business. But overall, their creative average active user increased by about 24%, with top line sales up 38%. So we are seeing within the tech space, and I'm going to put this in the tech space, is it's cloud-based. It's a website builder platform, but it also has business solutions. There are some technology companies that are doing well in this tape, and I think it has to do with the environment. I mean, there are tailwinds that are happening here for WIX. Individual contract employees becoming at-home content creators. They need website development. They need web hosting. They also need things like automated emails and account storage, and data analytics is all these other attributes that WIX services and provide their consumers and their customers, which are paying on a subscription-based fee. So I think everything that has to do with spending today in the tech space is still doing well. And I think this is one of these companies that is, as well as companies like Twilio, which is in the cloud communication space.
It's pretty interesting, George, that the stock is able to break out to these levels after kind of churning sideways to lower since the earnings back in August. So it had kind of established this downtrend, and then now really breaks out from that. Kind of unique on in its own space. Definitely a leader. Squarespace is a competitor with WIX in terms of these easily customizable personal websites, but Squarespace is not publicly traded. So this is kind of your way to get exposure to that. I do think it's pretty interesting that you see this move. There's not a lot of moves like that happening right now, these major breakouts. We got some of them a couple weeks back in terms of some of the software stocks, but it's basically this and Twilio. And even though, we're kind of putting in that category because of the recurring revenue, but WIX is, it's not really it's not like an enterprise software company. It's a web builder. So obviously they have their software that people use, but a little bit different from some of the others. You got one more for us, George. One last overlooked stock. We've got about a minute. What are we looking at here, GT?
Yeah, so BrightCove, OJ, this is one we talked about, I would say maybe 2 or 3 quarters ago. And here's another example where you're not
video storage, right?
In the industry. Yeah, it's basically cloud video hosting. It's software as a service. It's in the cloud. It's basically a way to bet on video content trends. We know video content trends are very big. Its ecosystem is designed to help use, publish, and edit video, distribute that, of course, encoded content. Now, Vimeo, a company you may be familiar with, is actually owned by Interactive Corp. This is the only company that I can find, at least on a quasi-publicly traded basis, that competes with BrightCove. So there's not a lot of competition, and I think the video content trends and ecosystems we're seeing are still continuing. And overall, I mean, they came out with numbers that beat the estimates, profitable. It came in at 14 cents, beat by 8 cents. The estimate was 6 cents on bottom line earnings. And of course, revenues came in at 54 million. This is the second consecutive quarters, at least for the last 2 quarters that I saw, where they actually showed a beat, and 13% growth in terms of top line sales. And you compare that to last quarter, it was about 3%. So you're starting to see double-digit growth for BrightCove, and I think they're becoming a little bit more adopted as sort of a second tier, not so necessarily second tier, but a second competitor to Vimeo, as this cloud video hosting industry group is developing. There's few competitors, and I think that serves well for a company like BrightCove, which is an up-and-coming, growing company.
All right, George, great stuff. Love the deep dive here into some of the overlooked movers of the day. Massive run in BrightCove this afternoon. Just kept rallying into the close, and a great one here that you've had on our radar for some time. So it just keeps minting money for longs. And I guess we're a video enterprise, George. I get it, right? Like we said last time we talked about this thing. If a lot of these software companies and cloud companies are kind of hard and obscure, kind of hard to wrap your head around sometimes if you're not exactly in the industry. But this one's pretty simple, and it seems pretty compelling. Videos are big. They're hard to find in stores, so find a good way to do it, and you're going to get demand. Thanks, George.